I've been wandering and pondering and searching around for the answers to questions reluctant to be found. These are. It's a time where I haven't been even true to the own ideas that I've been trying to express, and yet I'm still making progress. Um, it's quite weird. I meditate and I find answers, and then I forget the questions. And sometimes it seems like the best thing to do is to record something that is meaningful. And I had meaning, and I had ideas, and I had things to say. And I don't know where they went. I don't know where my thoughts went. I don't know. I forget what I was trying to express. But it was something along the lines of um, intuition. The ability to access one's intuition and or your so-called wavelength is reliant on your ability to meditate, I believe. And now I'm discovering new and interesting qualia, new and interesting means through which people could have different axes on this wavelength. I had thought that there were only two different variables, but that was, of course, quite silly. Especially when you're looking through the world as a place where things are rarely as they seem. So you find yourself. I wish I remembered what I was originally going to say when I sat down. But instead, a weird rhyme came out. Um, Basically, you are always doing what you wish to do. The problem is, you also end up leading yourself away from where you want to be for various and sundry reasons. You are your own worst enemy in a way, but you're also one of the only people that you can truly rely on. So, where does that leave you? It leaves you up the creek without a paddle because you've willingly thrown the paddle back into the creek and you don't wish to bend down to retrieve it. You wish instead to narrowly list along. So, oh, yes. I am a person who has inner machinations that are vivid and stand out. But the only tool that I've really sharpened in which to properly express these things has been the use of language, writing, and speaking. And this had been a tool that I had sharpened to the razor's point in the past, and in modern times allowed then to rust, and then reattempted to sharpen the blade despite the rust, rather than trying to actually properly take care of it along the way. It ends up becoming something that is sharp, serrated, but incomplete, because there are pieces missing that were rusted away, that were allowed to become non existent, as it were, or turn into something else entirely, become devoted to a different reality. So, I'm trying to more appropriately express the things that lie within my mind. And I'm finding it incredibly hard to do so because if I am to write things down, I take 20,000 attempts approximately and then throw them all away because none of them feels like they properly convey what I'm trying to express. And then seizing a moment like I have right now, within moments, within seconds of the original idea forming, I can finally truly get what would be called inspiration by some, or I don't know, perception of reality to others. I'm finding it hard to properly express what I'm trying to say, but I think I understand. Anyway, as one is one own worst enemy, one must then realize that you will always be working to undermine yourself and then still set up a type of redundancy so that it's not a question of whether or not you can fail. It ends up becoming something where you practiced something to the point where it is impossible to fail, whatever it may be that you are attempting. That's what they mean by they say practice makes perfect. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if you are to practice something, you had best make sure that you are practicing it the correct way. And if you do then practice it, you practice it repeatedly until you cannot get it wrong. That's what they mean when they try and say practice makes perfect. It's not exactly the most succinct thing, which is why they have simplified that statement to something that is a mnemonic device practically. You can just say it and people seem to understand, even though they don't fully understand most of the time. It took me until recently to figure this fact out, honestly. And even I am still having difficulty grasping it, despite the fact that I have a relatively decent comprehension of the English language, as you may or may not have been able to guess. I know some of you may find that difficult, as I have expressed difficulty in expression itself. However, comprehension, I believe, is something different from expression. Maybe it uses a different center of the brain, who knows. But it's easy for me to understand a situation, and it's easy for me to solve a problem. But understanding and solving one's own problem, to me, and to most, is a nigh upon insurmountable task. So, how do we then figure out how to fix the problems? Usually, we would then find a way to what is something called a precedent. You would have to have a cause that is in the past. Somebody else would have had to experience something similar. Well, you'd say, well, what if there is no precedent? Well, there is precedent for almost everything that has occurred. And a lot of things we are creating the occurrence of for the first time, though, in this day and age, because technology is advancing so very rapidly. So, if you have no precedent, what do? You may ask. If there is no precedent, then you would need to find yourself a team of researchers and or associates and or assistants to help you scientifically catalog the things that you are trying to research. So, in my efforts, I am finding myself in need of a very specific type of assistance because I need people to either know me well enough to help or know things about humanity that are not the most common things to think about or know. Pieces of information that are not usually relegated to normalcy of mankind.